Hey there, it's James Taylor. I was with some friends the other day and they had a very young little girl and a much older boy who's a teenager. And it was interesting because I was noticing the difference in kind of creativity levels between these two kids. You know, the young one was sitting there completely immersed in their crayons. He was doodling away and coming up with some really cool kind of abstract stuff. And then the older child, the older boy, the teenager, was being asked about a problem that they were working on at school, and they just couldn't really kind of come up with ideas. They couldn't come up with original ideas about how to fix this particular challenge that they were having on the school project. And so it made me think about that Picasso quote, which says that every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once they've grown up. And there's these three stages in the development of children and young people as it relates to creativity. The first stage is what we call the pre-conventional stage. And that's what I was witnessing in my friend's young child, which is where they were thinking in the abstract. They were talking in terms of metaphors. The child just started talking, but they were thinking in abstract and they were thinking in metaphors as well. And then what usually happens is when kids go to school, and they'll often have what's called the fourth grade slump in their creative thinking. And it happens, you know, this age of around 9. And what's going on there? Well, a couple of things are happening. The first is some children go into what we call hyper-conventionality, which is where they think so much around their peer group and they define themselves so much around their peer group that they actually close down, you know, their original thinking because they want to conform. They don't want to be unconventional. They want to conform to the peer group, which is, you know, is completely natural as well. But then there's these other things that are going on, which is very interesting around the psychology, where you see, in terms of the speech, going more from the metaphoric that the young child was having to more literal. If you look at their artwork, often what you see as well is it goes from the abstract goes to something that's more like painting an object or doing a picture around a specific thing, an object, something more solid. And that's fine. This is all completely normal development stages as well. But what can often happen is the stunting of the growth into the next stage, which we call the post-conventional. And this is where you start to realize that these conventions that you learn at school, these conventions that you're taught, they're useful, but they're just signposts. They're just the information for you to think about. And it's like where, you know, any great creative or scientist, they have to first learn their craft. They first have to learn the sum of the knowledge, or as much of the sum of knowledge as possible around their particular thing, in order to say, I think if we did this another way, if we did this like, you know, slightly unconventional, if we tried this, if we hacked this thing, we did something slightly different, then we can create something completely new and completely novel and original. And it's that stage there, that post-conventional stage, I see, unfortunately, a lot of education systems knocking out of people this ability to think for ourselves, to think different. Because this is the thing about creativity, is you have to have, you know, one of the things that kills creativity, kills originality fastest, is conventions, is thinking in a very conventional way. But, you know, originality is necessary but not sufficient to live a creative life. So I would tell you this, and think whether it's you're dealing with your kids, you know, really fostering them a slightly unconventional way of thinking. Yourself and your team members, people you work with as well, is really useful to have conventions, the norms, social norms, the way we work. But you also, at certain points, you need to be able to break out of those and have a flexibility of mind, a plasticity of mind, to be able to say, actually, what if we did something slightly different here? What if we kind of pushed this a little bit and try something slightly unconventional? So I hope that's been useful to you. Thinking about this idea of being unconventional, about not always conforming to some of these norms as well. I would love to get your comments. Please, if you're not watching this at jamestaylor.me, please go there and leave it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Hi, it's James here. Did you enjoy that episode? If so, there's 2 things that we can do to continue the journey together. Firstly, I would love if you to subscribe, give us 5 stars and leave a comment. Secondly, if you go to jamestaylor.me and enter your name and email address, I'm going to send you some free goodies all around creativity and innovation. Look forward to continuing the journey together.